Good morning.
Howdy, Rob.
You doing okay?
Yeah, busy. But
That's good.
as you can tell, usually I try to send out like a reminder the day before and at least give people a couple minutes heads up, but that did not happen this time.
I noticed. I said like, oops.
Yep, yep,
Myself, I saw your announcement in the channel. I said, oops, today.
yep. Oh, that's okay. It might just be you and me since I didn't remind people, but
Yeah, okay. That's our problem. A quick.
you can give people a couple minutes. But
Okay.
oh, hey, Nick.
No. Oh, Nick is coming. Good. Kind of half wake up just a moment ago. So that's a late start this morning.
I was up at 4:30.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had a quick question?
Yeah, basically, I saw some in the channel about Sean that he was kind of pushing for single sensors sending. So not the whole. How would you say that? Not all the sensor
Like not
data at once. So for Will to concentrate on that single sensors. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. That's why.
Did you get any background info on like why Sean is asking for it? Like what's the new use case?
I think because of the methane sensor that was just put up quickly, but that was a kind of emergency. So push it, and now he thinks we can all do that. I think we shouldn't, but I think we should try to set up that we can take the sensors, all the data directly into the database, not one by one.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we still like there's value in keeping the data separated per sensor, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think, we talked a lot about like schema changes and stuff back in October, but like I think what we have right now makes sense in that every sensor is its own thing, which allows us a lot of flexibility to do things like spot sensors that are having trouble, like that sort of thing. But it sounds like so what they did for methane, right, is it's not like a drive.
No, we're
It's
just pushing them up
just pushing like single measurements.
like a point cast. I just made an emergency thing for that.
Yeah, and so I think we can probably support that. The one thing that comes to mind is it makes detection of like duplicates and errors a little bit trickier. But I also wonder if that's really a big deal at this stage. Um, I think it feels like in the early days when there wasn't a lot more data, there wasn't a lot of data. Like the idea of posting duplicates was like a huge problem. But I don't know. Nick might even have some thoughts on whether or not duplication of data points or anything is a big problem, since he's the one generating the tile maps off the data. But if like by and large our data is pretty clean, like a couple of duplicates here and there, it's probably not going to really throw anything off that much. So
and even that can be taken out if we export it. So
yeah, we could, or I'm sure there's stuff that we can do on the processing side, but because like the if we're doing single measurement points, you start to run out of things to use to like put in any kind of checksum to dedupe, right? Like
sure.
I guess you have lat long and stuff like that. We can try to come up with something. But the fact that we could like checksum a whole drive was probably kind of handy in the sense that we wouldn't ever get the same point twice. But if we're doing individual points, we won't have that luxury. But I kind of doubt it'll be. So is it working okay as far as the point cast style methane measurements is concerned? I haven't really kept up on anything. So
no, that's fine. There's no issues with that.
Cool. So does Sean need any changes in particular, or is he just interested?
No. There was some suggestion, or there was some talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe we should aim to like, especially it seems like a lot of these small hardware computers are like starting to come with embedded Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and stuff like that. Like we may as well start looking towards a future of rather than have everything be file and SD card based, try to work towards more of like a streaming approach.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah. And for the time being, if the current API is handling it for methane, then I mean we can start exploring it for other stuff too. I don't think the schema would really have to change that much. Certainly no more than it would for air already. Okay, so the data is pretty wonky. Is Nick, is there like something in particular about, like, is there something at the API layer that's causing the data to be wonky, or you're saying like the actual numbers that are coming in are not that usable? Give him a second to type. Oh, okay, on the unit side. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So as far as the API is concerned, I'd say let's just keep doing what we're doing for the methane thing if we all think it's working reasonably well. And maybe we can even look towards optimizing for that case in the future.
Because Peter was requesting temperature sensors from the point-cast, and they can be done in the same way. I mean,
cool.
So that works out okay.
Yeah, and I think especially, I want to get the air-related schema changes pushed forward. I know I've been saying this for months. I had a grand plan for February, and yeah. Well, it turns out we're going to have a slightly larger family come September. So, so I'm playing single father at the moment because we're in the hard part.
Single father. So soon it's going to be multiple fathers.
No. I mean we're in morning sickness territory right now. So it's the difficult first trimester. So yeah, basically everything went right out the window as far as non-paying work is concerned. I had to really struggle just to meet my normal billable work.
That's hard.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So hopefully there's only a couple weeks left of that.
I hope for you. Hi, Joe. You didn't say hello. Joe, you came in.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the schema changes for air, I think, should pretty nicely support that streaming idea as well, because at the end of the day, like once that's all set up, you won't even have to worry as much about like the measurement. You can just say, here's my sensor, and here's the ID that the database has associated with this sensor, and then the value that's being reported by the sensor, like the units and all the metadata, actually gets stored back in the database with our device registration. So at that point, essentially, each sensor only has to report two numbers. What's my ID and what is the current value of the thing that I'm measuring. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
You might be muted there, Joe. Looks like you're trying to talk, but I don't hear anything.
No, we don't hear you, Joe.
Could be a hardware thing, because I didn't see your mute icon until you just turned it on. Maybe like a system settings or something. You could type in the chat too. That's what Nick tends to do.
Typing is a bit harder.
Use what you got.
I get a nice mock these days.
Very old. A nice mug.
It's an old one.
Nice.
Yeah, Joe, too. What mock do you have, Joe?
Yeah, we can't hear you, but you can show us your hardware.
Well, cute.
Oh, I don't even know what that is, but it looks.
What was that, Joe? The last one.
Okay, now he's just showing off his hardware. There's a bulb.
Yeah, I can do my hardware too.
We're rocking old Pyrex here at this house.
So. I see. That's good.
We're a fan of the Pyrex.
Oh, some radiation.
Nice. I like the little. That's classy. Very nice. Little wood box, little clasp. That's great. Plutonium.
It's Joe's cabinet.
That's awesome. Yeah, I still can't hear a thing. Oh, there it goes.
But no sound from Joe.
I was actually talking to a buddy of mine who does like a remote company, and but he said that they do everything remote, but they still do interviews in person because there's just like so much chance for technical difficulty, and like if you're doing a tech interview, you only have like usually an hour or two to use, and you could blow it if you run into a microphone problem. How's it going, Joe?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So what I was trying to type before. When I came in, you were talking about not duplicating data points, and why that was necessary. Did you need some background on that?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt. Like the context here was talking about submitting kind of individual data points the way that we're doing for methane, and the API does support. But the main thing I was wondering, since you no longer have like the drive to like MD5 the drive and say like, yes, we've seen this thing before. All you have is what's in that one data point. We have less to work with as far as like deduplication work it goes. But that feels like it might not be a big concern. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Offline deduplication would be fine, but the originally we had files on SD cards, and sometimes they'd be corrupt, sometimes they wouldn't, or sometimes we had things where things were posting as they got a connection, and then we would bring the SD card file back at the end, and it would fill in all the missing data points that didn't go through the bad communications link, or that didn't get uploaded because they were corrupted or something, and that way we could just give it the entire drive again and not have it double all the data points that were in case they weren't erroneous. So that but if there was just a routine that ran, I don't know, once a week or something and deduplicated the database, that'd be fine too.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because that would remove them.
Yeah, and just look for things that have the exact same lat long, the exact same measurement.
Or we could also build it into any batch upload process, because if we have a batch upload where we're basically trying to recover either old data or offline data or something from a sensor that hasn't got a connection, and so the connection is a sneaker network, basically somebody carrying an SD card, then that would, when it went through those, it would look for duplication to tell if this file even needs to be, if it's already been processed.
Yeah, and we definitely still have that, but I think when it comes to like devices that kind of stream data in live time, it doesn't feel like there's, like, obviously if something has like the exact same lat long and the exact same value and the exact same timestamp, then we can say like, yeah, this is just
that's what we just looked for. It was easy because there was two measurements. Even when I had two B Geigy, say, on the same car driving the same route, the measurements were still separate because they were always separated by milliseconds or inches or something. So they weren't they were the same location at the same time, but they weren't the actual same data. We also had unreliable communications, so that when we were doing first store and forward devices, what we planned to do was every half an hour or every 5 minutes you send 10 minutes worth of data. So every data point gets sent at least twice. And that was to give us redundancy of because we don't know
something got lost, or
we didn't have to have acknowledgments back to, we didn't have to have a connection all the way back to the sensor that way, which says, yes, I got that data point. There was in order to get reliability, we would send the current data point and the previous data point.
Yep.
The previous data point would be filtered out by the deduplication filter if it had gone through, and that gave us two chances at getting all the data in.
Yep, that makes sense. And yeah, I think it feels like timestamp, lat long, and value is enough that if we see that exact same thing, we can just say this is very likely already been posted. Let's just throw it away.
What are we looking at now? Isn't that what we're looking at to check duplicates?
Probably. I'd want to check the code just to be sure.
Yeah, I think there's the checksum. The checksum is based on all of that. I think the first search is on the checksum, and if the checksum matches another one, then it looks at something else. So, but there are ways to make that more efficient. You don't have to do a full string compare every time. Matt froze. Oh.
Yeah, my internet went a little wonky, so I just went audio only here. Can you repeat your last sentence, and I think we'll be good.
I can't remember.
Okay. I'm sure it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
You were mentioning about the line.
Huh?
The whole line would be
the
sum would be fine.
We don't have to do a whole string compare. We can just compare the checksum, and if the checksum matches another one in another record, then you look at something else. You don't. There are ways to efficiently deduplicate without having to do a full string compare.
Yeah. Okay. And it looks like we digest value, latitude, longitude, and capture that right now.
Right.
So I think if we just keep doing that, like we lose the whole, the drive checksum that we also have, because obviously there's no drive file. But
I don't think we ever checked on that. We never checked for a duplicate. That's not true. When we send I think Paul put something in where when we go to upload a file, it looks for that to tell if this file has already been uploaded.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's the file is there.
But there was also, because of migration, bringing in data from a previous database, the migration didn't have all the data. So there was a period where I went through and would upload old files, and the API would say, oh, I haven't seen this file before, but it actually had 0 new data points in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually useful, because what it did do was suddenly take all of those data points and add their associations with that file.
Mm.
So that you could then say, oh, well, because we had a measurement, we didn't know who uploaded it, we didn't know where it came from, we didn't know what drive it came from, and that filled in those parts of the database.
Okay.
Even though it said 0 data points added.
Gotcha. They were actually in there, just not linked up.
Right. We didn't have an associated drive or an associated file or even an uploader or a person or something. So
cool.
All that metadata got filled in, and there may even be still some drives that are in that category. Because the first 3.5 million, I think they never did get the first migration. We couldn't even do that. So it was the second migration. So like data points from 3.5 million to 10 million, that all got sort of filled in on the ones that I have, but not everybody re-uploaded their drives, of course. So there's still a whole bunch that don't have all the data populated.
Cool.
And the original ones, the first 3.5 are all just credited to the user Safecast, and actually count me out of being the most prolific uploader because I don't get credit for the first year of my work.
That makes sense.
So the prize all the prizes have gone to the wrong people.
Well, we'll save the best prize for last there, Joe.
Only the people who really know, no?
Well, I did win a car.
There you go.
Yep.
Pretty good prize. I doubt many other uploaders have. Cool. So yeah, I mean, I think things seem to be working reasonably well on that front. Yeah, it does look. I just took a quick look at the code, and it's the MD5 is on. I just lost it. There you go. Value, latitude, longitude, and capture that. And then there's a unique on that MD5. So I think we'll get a reasonable amount of deduplication from that. Obviously, if any one of those values is a little bit off, it'll count it as another point. But I think that's
fine.
Probably what we want to do anyway.
That's right. Yep. I just saw when I was coming in, there was as I came across Slack, there's a message in the API channel from Tara, from a user that has something. Did anybody else see that?
Something there. Yeah.
Nah, first time seeing it. Sorry, Rob.
No, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it is or what it's about.
Well, clicking on it waits a long time. So our availability on API is really, really bad right now. So any request is going to have to get retried.
Okay.
We fail. When I had availability monitoring on, we were down about 5% of the time. So and that's the way it is. I spent some time trying to figure out why that is, but it's going to take probably a lot more time to actually resolve the problem. And Peter was like, "Don't worry about it. Just keep moving."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're not a paid service where we have customers that are going to cancel on us because because we're giving poor service. But
yeah, and I think I sent a couple of bullet points to Sean. I think it sounds like he's going to try to put out another call for volunteers. Hopefully, we can find some people with a little bit more bandwidth.
Yes, he is. We talked about that. He was just here in for the last week, and we did talk about that several different ideas on that. Ray was also here and had some ideas on how we can recruit, what we can offer to potential volunteers. He's especially looking at attracting some students, and where basically here's an internship with Safecast. Here's what you're going to do for us. Here's what you'll get out of it, and how this will make you marketable, upon your graduation, and how this will improve your job prospects.
Yeah.
And so that kind of a hiring process where we're recruiting volunteers but not paying them, but paying them essentially in saleable skills. Will be helpful for both of us, because we may not get the most expert people that way, but we'll get somebody who can do the stuff that's fairly simple and that needs done. Not necessarily design, but they can certainly learn and help out.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a good way to go too. Since I'll be available for mentoring and chats and things like that. That's easy enough stuff to answer a couple quick questions here and there, but getting a block of time to really make a migration is tough.
Actually, valuable pay. You send somebody off and study this stuff, come back with what you say, and they're learning it. We're getting something done, and it leverages the expertise we have really well. So that I thought Ray's idea that was a really good idea. So that's what Sean's going to be implementing as soon as he gets back from Geneva.
Cool. Yeah, I was hoping to actually pitch it around Tokyo a little bit last month because I was planning on doing a couple of meetups, but I said, the plans for February.
Well, the same thing goes for all of us. If you come across people who are interested and who don't really know, and says, hey, you want anybody from somebody who wants to learn programming to somebody who's been doing Ruby or whatever, but wants to learn about, I don't know, sensor networks, or I don't know, send them to me and I'll teach them soldering, or I'll teach them hardware. Whatever they want in return for helping out, we'll give them what we can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that'll be a good thing to do, and it definitely feels like time to try to recruit some folks.
And we do have also quite a bit of history in success that way. The people who, the very first website, they basically dropped out of Safecast because they got so busy with work from the reputation they gained from having done stuff for Safecast.
That's a great, like, a poster child even would be awesome to be like, yeah, look at this guy. Like, yeah. Oh, that would be good. Cool. Yeah, I'm all in support of that. I sent Sean a couple bullet points to hopefully help, but yeah, pretty much anyone who has experience with like at least one of web apps, Rails, or databases would be pretty useful. Doesn't have to be expert level or anything like that. Was, I think, sort of the way that I worded it.
If they're lower level, then I have a stack of SD cards that I'd like them to go through and just in a reader and see if they're corrupted, and if they sort out all the ones that aren't corrupted, and the ones that aren't corrupted, then look and see if they have any log files. And if they have, if they've got log files, look and see if they've been uploaded. And I've got literally over a dozen of those.
Yeah.
And it's really tedious work. So if somebody just wants to, somebody will do that. That's a good volunteer task.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do it myself, but I've been going to do it for over a year. And
yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, and also, I mean, I'll do it next time I'm actually back out in the community. But if anyone's going to any meetups or anything like that, try to pitch it as well. That's my next plan basically. Is anytime I usually try to get out to like a couple of tech meetups and like Geek Bar and Nagoya and that sort of thing. So I'll try to pitch it to folks there.
Right, and not just to them, but for them to pitch it to people they know.
Yeah.
Sort of reach out as a web and say if there's a student or somebody that is looking for something, then point them our way.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay.
Cool.
Coming up to Tokyo anytime soon?
It will be dependent on our family condition, but hopefully within the next month or two.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually the second trimester is pretty good, so that'll be my shot.
Because you've done this so many times before, right?
This is number 3, so yep.
Okay, that is pretty. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're kind of used to it at this point.
All right. I'll be going with the people going to Washington D.C. At the end of March, but I'll be going from March 21st. I'm going to LA, and then I'm going to go to D.C. Then I'll be back in LA for a bit. So I plan to spend over a week in Los Angeles on the way back, and I plan to go see the air sensors, and probably I'll even drive out to Porter Ranch. I'm going to try and put a boot in the butt of the air project. It's not been moving.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else you have me to do on there, let me know, because if you need something carried back or have a specific person you'd want me to meet, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is here? Rob.
We have Rob and Nick too.
I'm just looking at it. It's just Nick's here. Yep.
Yeah. Nick's on chat as usual. Cool. So I know one thing that's been getting a little bit of progress this month was Rob working on the kind of like the cosmic stuff. Any news there that you want to spread around?
No, still have to figure out how we're going to do the last part. The front end is done, but
okay, cool.
And the import of the log files are there.
Okay.
But
what's the basic? I thought we were just adding a field that's so we can label it cosmic, so we can filter it out of the main maps, so they can be approved. But
I think it might be the filtering part or Rob, you can talk to it, but
I made the import log file with a flag on it. That's done. But to get them in the measurements, I was not sure how to do that. So I kind of hold off on it. Or that Eve had time, or if Matt had time to look at it.
One of the things I'd like to do around that, the airplane data files. If you look at a log file in an airplane, they're often missing the GPS because the GPS is difficult to get if the big guy using an overhead bin or something. Mm-hmm. But the speed and direction of the plane is very predictable. So if we had some way to interpolate, you've got this data point. Now we've got an invalid flag on the GPS for the next 25 or 100 data points, whatever. If we could interpolate those, or I don't know, mark them some way, because almost always they do have a GPS coordinate. They just don't show up on the regular API input page because of the GPS quality flag is void. But if we put some kind of interpolation routine on those, we could fill in those points and put because the radiation level measurements are there and are valid. It's just the GPS that fails.
Gotcha.
So we could actually fill in those gaps, and we've talked about this ever since the very first month. About tunnel data. That when you go into a tunnel, instead of discarding the data, interpolate it all the way along, because we know where we go in the tunnel, we know where we come out. You're probably moving at a constant speed, and the reason we didn't do that was we realized that tunnel has a valid surface location above it. And if somebody's driving above it, which level is correct? And we decided that the level that's not in the tunnel, the one that's on the surface of the Earth, is the one that's correct. And so we never implemented the tunnel, we never used the tunnel algorithm, even though somebody developed one. But for the airplane data, that makes sense, because we're already talking about a drive where the entire thing is in a different sphere, where it's in the upper atmosphere, not on the surface, and we're going to segregate it out anyway. So now the power to interpolate those locations for the radiation measurements we have would be appropriate. Because if you look at the planes make it looks like an arc on our map, but that's a function of the Google's projection, the map projection. It's actually a straight line. So doing an interpolation of the data points would be very straightforward.
Yeah, I guess I thought we didn't record those points onto us in the first place, though.
It records them. They're in the log file.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't get into the API. In fact, one of the things we could do on this, if we know this is going to be a cosmic file, is run it through some kind of a pre-filter, even an offline program. You put this log file in, and it inserts GPS coordinates where there are none, and it shouldn't change the quality flag, or the VA flag on the GPS. It should probably put some special flag, maybe, or some special value in the satellite accuracy. Okay, if it's a recent log file, we already have that. One of the values is the number of satellites. So just put. We wouldn't want to change that, but I don't know, change it to add a 0.5 or add something on it that's valid in the field, but that would mark it as being a synthetic, location.
Gotcha.
Or a low accuracy one, because if you look at the actual log file, even when it's void, there's almost always a GPS coordinate. There are values there. It's just they're not accurate. They could be off by 100 meters. They could be off by a hemisphere. Sometimes there's a latitude but no longitude. Sometimes there's neither. Sometimes there's both, but it's based on 3 satellites. So anyway, there's lots of things that could be done there to fill in those gaps. And for the airplane data, it would be great, because then we'd have a continuous line, and people could look at it and say, oh, you can see where the radiation sort of changes a little bit more as they go either further north or whatever. Because the location, when you're at that altitude, if the GPS is off by a mile, it's still pretty good.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think there's some possibility there. We'll have to look into.
Should it be offline, or should it be in the API? Should it be in the ingestion?
I mean, so long as it's in.
I think you can do that in the API easier, because
so long as it's in the drive, I would say get it imported and then look to process it.
Right now we throw out the point if the GPS flag is void.
Yeah.
But the data is there.
It wouldn't surprise me if you had to basically run through a lot of the older imports and stuff like that to do that, but yeah, I think having it as
I'm really only mostly interested in it for the cosmic data. For the one where the altitude is already clearly some level above the surface. So because on the ground, it's reasonable to just exclude the data points when the GPS isn't good, because when you're going along a road and the GPS gets wonky and you're off by a couple hundred meters, people say, well, I didn't go through those buildings, or I didn't go, and that's probably. When it's on the ground, we need to have the GPS accuracy, to whatever it is, which is whether it's 50 meters or 10 meters or something. But in the air, we can afford to have that, because nobody's going to be zooming in on one data point on an airline flight and say, oh, look, I wasn't there. We were actually over this building, not over that building. 30,000 feet. It's all kind of about in the location anyway.
Yeah. Cool. I'll throw a ticket in
Rob,
here.
how are you sorting out those data points? How are you figuring out which ones are cosmic?
Right now, it's metadata on like that uploader set. So it's not like we figure it out. It's actually when you upload it, you say this
This
is
is Cosmic Drive. That's
Okay, so we're also, what you're doing is you're adding a flag for the metadata. Somebody said this is Cosmic, so that we can get it out of the submission queue and approve it and have it be. So for the ones that are already pending, the things that are in the database but not unapproved, one of us can go through, set the Cosmic flag, and then approve it. Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah, it's like that. But at the moment, I wouldn't approve it yet because if you approve it, it really goes into the measurements.
Well, this is what I mean. We're working toward the ability to be able to approve those, because right now anything anybody's uploaded that was in an airplane is sitting in the approval queue unapproved.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're trying to clear up.
Right. Exactly. So the plan is to create a flag that we can set, either the uploader can set or the moderator, the person checking it, can set. Because if somebody doesn't set it, when we get it, we get the mail, we go look at it. Oh, this is obviously in an airplane because look at the altitude. Then we hit the Cosmic flag and approve it, and it goes, and those data points still won't wind up in the on the maps because of the Cosmic flag. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, yeah, because airplane data is pretty clear when you see it. Mm-hmm. The other thing is being able to separate it out. I get because the big files, the data files are per day, you have somebody driving around in a city and their path leads to an airport, and then their path leads up into the air. We'd like the data that's on the ground, going to the airport. That should get in the database. That's regular drive data. It isn't until the airplane takes off that we want to have the Cosmic flag. So being able to segregate those without having to go to the log file, and text, copy and paste it and split it into parts and upload it separately would be also really powerful.
Yeah, my guess is from what I've seen so far on the work, that'll probably be like a revision 2. But for now, we'd at least like to get those stuck drives,
right?
The stuck data unstuck, and then we can look at kind of more graceful.
Yeah, ideally, I'd like it to compare the GPS altitude to the reference from like Google Maps or something, and if it's more than 300 meters, then hey, this is airborne.
Yep.
And filter it mechanically as opposed to by manually.
Yeah, but at least manual will get us moving as far as those.
Yes, the ones that are stuck.
Yeah.
Because right now, when I do it, I tend to just I split the log file into different pieces. Whether if I was on a bicycle and then I get in an Uber and then I get in an airplane, I split those into separate files and upload them separately just so that they can be approved. But
cool. Yeah, I think also getting into more individual and streaming measurements is probably going to change our thoughts around this a little bit too. Like it'll become all the more important to actually, rather than set metadata, actually look at altitudes and things like that and make a judgment based on those.
Well, the fixed measurement sensors streaming data, as far as I know, the point casts, they send latitude and longitude every time. It's just instead of coming from a GPS, it comes from a constant on the SD card, so it never varies. And yeah, that's just the database is filled in, whether it came from a moving sensor or a one-time sensor or a fixed sensor, doesn't really matter. It's all just a geolocated radiation measurement.
Yep, sure is. Cool. Yeah, I threw in
a particle measurement or a temperature measurement or whatever.
I threw in a ticket. I titled it Interpolation for Cosmic Data, and then I put I referenced the current ticket number in there as well, so that way we should be able to at least keep an eye on it. And then, depending on how Rob's work winds up, we can decide whether or not we want to tackle that right away. Or I think probably, in my mind, probably one of the best things is like once we can actually get some of this data flowing in, it'll be a lot easier to qualify whether or not we really need to interpolate those points, or do we kind of have enough data.
This is one of those ones that'd be good for a new volunteer, somebody who want to test and see what their skills are, because this is, especially the interpolation one, is a problem that is so easy to define accurately. I mean, we've got so many things where we say, well, I kind of want to do something like, for this one, I can give him an algorithm.
Yeah, you sure could.
If you can, understand my notation on the algorithm and can implement it, great, do it. Yeah. So this is a kind of, we can even use it as a, I don't know, an interview problem.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, or even just an initial task, like, hey, go try this. See if you can get it done.
Yeah, and if they can't get if they get it done and it doesn't work, we just don't roll it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when you're talking to people, say this is an example of a problem we have. If somebody could code that, and if for the right person, I bet you they'd say, oh, that's half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll find out that yes, doing the algorithm takes half an hour, and working it into our API and figuring out how to get it all there is a couple of days.
Yeah, basically.
Hopefully a couple of days.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Cool. Anything else we wanted to go over? I think that was the main thing I knew to be in progress this month.
Yep.
Obviously Airdata is still top of mind for me, but it's a question of bandwidth. So, and then certainly I'm excited about recruiting efforts because I like mentoring, which is a little bit easier to multiplex with everything else I have going on.
Good. Yeah, and honestly, I think you're going to be better for us as a leader than as a coder.
Yeah. Certainly my time constraints lean towards that. So, cool. All right, Nick, did you have anything you wanted to cover before we split?
No, I'm fine.
No? Okay, Rob, you good? All right, I'd say we're good then.
Nick, something? No? Okay.
No,
good.
he just said nope in the chat. So
Okay,
I'll schedule the next one. I'll see everyone in the channel, and hopefully, Rob, if you find yourself working on the cosmic stuff again, give me a ping. Maybe I can give you some pointers. But it sounds like maybe you is the right point of contact at this stage. Okay. So cool.
Okay, good.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.